Hello and welcome to Friday Flow. I'm Pam Reid, author of New Lenses, Picture Your Profit, and the founder of a brand ministry called Flow. Feel love over worry. Thank you so much for being here with me to kick off yet another wonderful weekend. And as always, I'm hoping that you hear something, see something, or experience something that not only pricks your heart, but causes you to acquire a new set of lenses so that you can see your world and the people in it differently. If you hear something that just resonates with you or you know would resonate with someone else, please share. I'd love that. So, how many of you hey, Michelle, how many of you have ever had a personality assessment? If you have had a personality assessment, please let me know. Share with us which personality assessment. I know there are tons of them, right? And if you've never heard of a personality assessment, it's a tool that's used to measure someone's personality and behavioral traits, right? So some businesses use these assessments to help during their hiring process. Some businesses use it to, if they've got teams already and they need to make some adjustments because maybe there's a lack of synergy or something like that, and they want a little more diversity in their teams. Some families also use personality assessments when they want to strengthen relationships or just have a better understanding of who the family members are and the way of their thinking and responses and things like that. No matter what you decide to do, you always hear the same kind of things at the end of an assessment. You hear things like, oh my God, that was so accurate. That is me all the way. Or you may hear someone say, wow, that's about 90% accurate. That's pretty good. You may also hear things like, oh, wow, so that's why you say the things you say. That's why you respond the way you respond. That's why you're the way you are. Things like that. And so assessments can be a very, very valuable tool. And so while some of you may have had some, I see, okay, Myers-Briggs, I did Myers-Briggs back in my early days. Yes. So let me know what kind of assessment you've had. I'm going to reference just 3 assessments that will lay the foundation for what God wants me to share with you today. Okay. So the 3 assessments I'm going to reference, and very broadly, please, very broadly, because each of the assessments, most of the assessment tools are very comprehensive. They've got lots of detail, lots of explanation, lots of things. I'm not doing that today. We don't have time for that. But so I'm going to very broadly use these 3 assessments. The first one is True Colors Assessment. Okay. And it's got 4 colors. It's got gold, orange, blue, green. Then I'm going to use the 4 animals assessment. And the animals are the lion, the otter, the golden retriever, and the beaver. And I'm going to use the disc. Okay. And disc is just the letters DISC. Okay. And this will lay the foundation for what God really wants you to know. So if you took the colors assessment and it came out that you were gold, you would probably be someone who is very structured, very disciplined. Time is something that's important to you. Not only do you like to be on time, but you expect others to be on time. You're quick and good with decision making if you're gold. And that translates very, very well to the 4 animal assessment. You'd be a lion in that case, right? You'd be this leader, and in some cases, you'd be forceful and you'd be assertive and all that. And that still translates well to the disc, the D, which stands for dominance. And that pretty much explains itself, right? Now, if you go back to the color assessment and you were rated orange, you might be energetic and fun-loving. You're open to taking certain risks. You take action on things. That translates to the 4 animal assessment, which would be the otter. Okay. And the otter is that way, fun-loving people, very group-oriented, things like that. And then that translates to the disc, which is the I, which is the influencer. That kind of speaks for itself too, right? Someone who can influence others, right? Good socially, talks and lively and all that, a good influencer. Going back to the colors, if you were assessed as blue, you might be someone who is very compassionate, very sympathetic, very loving. You know, connections with other people really matters to you, right? And then that translates to the four animal assessment, and you be the golden retriever. Okay. And so you're talking loyalty, you know, accommodating, nurturing, just all those kinds of things, which goes beautifully into the disc, which is the S, which is steadiness and consistency, right? And that person is loyal and just there for you, just all that kind of stuff. And the last color, if we go back to the color assessment, is green. And whether you are assessed as green in the color assessment or you're assessed as the animal assessment, and that animal is the beaver, or if you go to the disc and you're assessed as the C, which is more around compliance, okay, the descriptive words are all the same. You know, a person that's assessed in any of those categories is analytical, practical, precise, and they stand on their position because they've got all the facts. They're very detail oriented and precise in that way. And so those are the four that I want to reference, right? And I want to go back to my early days of working in corporate America. And I've always held leadership positions. And, as a leader in my work environment, I was known as someone who was very generous with praise and kudos and just compliments for people who went above and beyond. If you came to work and you didn't do any more than you were hired to do, that was okay. You was still paid commensurate with your jobs. People knew that I paid well, right? That was fine, but you didn't get all that extra from me because I just wasn't focused on it. I'm like, they're here, they're doing their job. But all the people who just pushed forward and did the extra and went above and beyond, I was just all over those folks. Back then, I didn't have the true color assessment. I didn't have the animal assessment or the disc assessment. By the way, I'm gold, I'm a lion, and I'm a D. Okay, that's what it did, right? However, there's so much more to me than those assessments. And yes, I had Myers-Briggs too, but they have 16 different personality traits, and I don't even remember which one I was. But back then, I didn't have all of that, and there was a group of people that I just didn't do right by. I missed the mark with this certain group of people. And I realize as I've gone through my life's journey and my spiritual walk and just my intimacy with God that I've really grown and learned some things through all these years. But I look back when he gave me this message for today, man, I seriously fell short with the blue people. And I'm gonna tell you why. So if you were orange or gold or green and you were just doing your job, you didn't say anything. You were happy. You came to work and you were just doing your job, and that was all good and well for you because you knew you were being paid well and the environment was happy and pleasant and fine, and you said nothing. But if you were blue and you were just doing your job, that was not enough. You might come into my office, which you did, and you would say things like, I'm working really hard. And I'd say, okay, great. And you say, I'm really trying really hard and I'm working really hard and I just, I'm working really hard. And I'm okay, great. That's an example, right? And I never said things like, well, is there something more? Am I missing something? Because, there's a little body language there. Their head would be down a little bit and their shoulders would be down a little bit. And I never asked if I was missing something or is there something more you want to convey to me? I never did that. And you know what else I didn't do? I never said, you know what? Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing what you do. Like I could have done, I didn't do any of that. I was just so focused on the people who went above and beyond, right? And so I'm not condemning myself, but man, I wish I knew then what I so know now. That everybody, regardless of their color, their assessment, their animal, whatever, they have a need. And you have to have ear to hear, and you have to have an eye to see. In my very early days, ooh, boy, did I miss the mark on some things. And here's the other thing. People were actually advocating for me and supporting me. So, for example, a blue person would go to someone else, a different, right? And they would say, Pam never, she doesn't compliment me. She doesn't say anything to me. And the other people are like, well, you're not doing anything more than what you're asked to do. You're not going above and beyond it. And you see how she treats everybody, right? So that helped me stay, if you think about it, kind of where I was, which was not that, none of that was good. So anyway, so fast forward to the message, okay? The message is in 1 Peter 3:5. Yes, no, it's 3:8. 1 Peter 3:8. And it says, finally, all of you be of like mind, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. I love that. We're going to break that down. It opens with finally. You know what that is? It's about time. Finally, it's about time, right? And then the next phrase is all of you. That's everybody, like all of you. Is there anyone here that's watching or listening that doesn't fit into the all of you category? No, it's all of us. So it's about time that all of us, and here's the next phrase, be of like mind. In other words, let's get it together and think the same, have the same mindset and the same heart set to be sympathetic. Sympathetic doesn't mean that you have to understand. Sympathetic means that you have to be respectful. You have to respect and acknowledge someone's misfortune or respect and acknowledge what somebody may be through. Be sympathetic and just acknowledge it and respect it. You don't understand it. You don't have to know all the details, but you still want to respect and acknowledge it, right? Then the scripture goes on to say, love one another. Now, love one another, the word love is a verb. It's an action word, to love one another. We all know how to do that. And I'm not talking about love the people who are easy to love. I'm talking about loving the people who are difficult to love, the people at work, the people you serve with in the community, the people that you do stuff with, the people at the grocery store who are not wearing a mask, right? Love is an action, and we all have the capacity to love with our words, with our actions, with our gestures. It says, love one another. Then it says, be compassionate. Compassionate is the same thing as being sympathetic. You don't have to understand, but compassion means to have concern. Concern for another person, concern for their well-being, concern for what they might be going through in a situation. Be compassionate. And then finally it says, and be humble. Wow. Remember that Friday we talked about not thinking about yourself higher than you ought? This is an example of that, to be humble, to be modest, to keep yourself low, right? People who exalt themselves and think higher of themselves than they should, it's not attractive. There's nothing attractive about that. But when you're humble, guess what happens when you're humble and you're lowly and you keep yourself down? You get to hear better. You get to hear when there are opportunities for you to be sympathetic and compassionate, When you're humble and you keep yourself lowly, right? Opportunities come your way. Doors open for you to love more and to serve more and to give. People who are exalted, those opportunities don't present themselves because nobody wants to be around people who do that. So be humble. So 1 Peter 3:8. Finally, all of us be like-minded and be sympathetic and love one another and be compassionate and humble. You know what that is? You know what I just described in 1 Peter 3:8? The blue people, the very people that I was struggling with in my early days, the very people that I could have done better by. We've got a very specific prescription here in the scriptures, 1 Peter 3:8, to be the things. So guess what? God is not concerning himself with these personality traits. I'm not saying anything that about the assessments. They're great. They are a great business tool, a great relationship tool. I'm actually someone who's certified in DISC, so I can teach it and do all that great stuff with it. And it is very valuable. I'm using it now. But God's not concerned about personality assessments. He's not concerned about, just like we said last week, he's not concerned about your degree and your certification and all that stuff. He's concerned about your heart and who you are becoming. And in 1 Peter 3:8, he gives us something very specific. We're to be like people. The world needs more blue people. Now, that doesn't mean that the eyes and the oranges and the otters and no, we need all of that diversity. But like what happened to me in my life's journey and my spiritual walk and my relationship with God, I've got lots of blue now. I've got a love language. I've got whatever it is. It's it's in 1 Peter 3:8. And I want to encourage you to think about adopting some of that blue if you don't have it already. Maybe you are blue. I don't know. But I know that more of us, all of us, like in 1 Peter 3:8, it's time for us to be like-minded and exercise those things and be those things. And before I let you go and let you know how much I love you, I want to thank every one of you who has registered for the Flowdemic. Okay, now what you may not understand, especially if you have not registered yet, is that I've got 4 amazing speakers. I've got some great fun planned, and you are going to walk away with some serious nuggets. You're going to be able to interact with amazing people. We're going to have a wonderful good time. We're going to flow into health and time and life's work and ministries, relationships, and just all the things that are just going to be so significant as we continue in this journey together. So if you haven't registered yet, it's right there. Where is it? Right there. Flowdemic.eventbrite.com. I hope that you register. I hope that I'll see you there. And again, for those who already have, thank you. I hope that you take this message and you share it. I hope that you carry it through your weekend and the weeks ahead and the month ahead. And I hope you will flow right here with me again next week. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you.